Samson.
How are you? My God.
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
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 Awesome to connect with you here. Thanks for following up on that message. I mean, I know it was like I think I sent the follow-up message like a year after you sent the initial message.
Yeah, which is
So
fun.
my bad. I suck at social media, obviously. I don't I'm not very good with it, but you
Yeah.
know, what is it that you'd like to get at? What is it that you'd like to talk about?
Ha! Myself. That's
Yeah,
zero distance, right?
right.
Between me and myself. Uh,
Where do you perceive the
so,
distance being?
um, so I don't believe there is actually distance.
So intellectually, you know that there's no distance. In your direct experience, is there a distance? Or why do you feel that there's a distance here that you need to dissolve?
There's no distance, actually. It's
Is
just me.
is there a
Uh,
barrier between this actual direct experience of your life and what you think enlightenment is?
Sometimes I get lost in the drama
Mm-hmm.
and I identify myself as, the body mind.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, there's no actual distance, but that illusion of distance uh, comes up. But right now, right? No, there's no distance.
Yeah, perfect.
Uh,
So dissolving that distance that seems to come up automatically when it's not directly investigated simply just requires us to directly investigate it and each time that it comes up.
yes,
And in that we dissolve it. We
exactly.
we see directly its non-existence.
Yes, I agree.
Can you perceive right now in your direct experience that anytime there seems to be a distance, it's simply just an attention, a modulation of this awareness that's always infinite and always ubiquitous.
Yes.
It's just confirming this in your direct experience each time a perceived distance arises within the mind. Look at it. Look at it directly enough to be able to see that it's just an illusion. It's an illusion of mind,
Mhm.
that there's a separate world out there from your eternal essence that's always uncontained, uncontracted. Is anything contained and contracted?
No, except in the imagination of it,
Mm-hmm.
because um, but I think it's all about making the time to take a step back and go back to that direct experience instead of, like I said, getting lost in the drama, right? And being identified as the body mind. Um, yeah. But one thing, if I may, one thing that caught my attention in your video is I want to be open to the possibility that during deep sleep, awareness does not actually disappear,
Mm-hmm.
but everything we're aware of does.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a video which talks about you became aware of, not necessarily aware of, but you became aware during a deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That really caught my attention. If you want to guide me through that, I don't necessarily want you to repeat that historical experience, but if you can guide me through that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not even a historical experience. It's the direct experience of what is. We are just this awareness that is the exact same during the wake state as in the sleep state. The only difference between the wake state and the sleep state is in the wake state, consciousness is seemingly contracted. It's seemingly focused. It seemingly has attention, and that creates a very finite experience. Whereas in the sleep state, consciousness is no longer as attenuated. It's no longer as focused. And so it kind of zooms back out a little bit from the prism of mind, more towards its infinite, uncontrived essence. And that's why dreams can be super erratic. They don't necessarily play with the same dimensional realm
Mhm.
and physics that the waking mind does. It's
Mhm.
more infinite, it's more chaotic, it's less linear. Time can change, but and space can change in an instant. You can be in one place in your room at night and in another place in the universe some other time within the same dream. And so this essence just kind of is loosening back into its unconfined nature. But what you're talking about is the essence that is aware of both. And the essence that is aware of both, there's no difference. There's no difference between the wake state and the sleep state. What it's aware of, the contents changes oftentimes. Oftentimes they're also very similar, but it's just the contents that changes. The focusing mechanism gets a little looser during the sleep state. But the substance that is present and aware never changes. It never shares the limitations of the mind through which it looks, whether it's the wake mind or the sleep mind. That essence never shares those limitations and therefore is forever free, forever uncontained.
Mhm.
The pure presence of what is. That is your ultimate essence right here and right now. And when you discover this, you discover that there's a smooth transition between the wake state and sleep state in which your essence is known and
Mhm.
maintained throughout.
It's interesting. I follow clearly. What I'm left behind is I understand the obviously the awake state, this conscious body mind state. Sleep state, I understand. It's obvious. When it's deep sleep, while that play is going, like when the mind collapses altogether, including the so-called sleep state,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is also a mind play, right? Dream states, mind is playing.
Mm-hmm.
But when that gets completely gone, nothing, while that play is happening, the no mind game is happening, I've never been aware during that time frame. I don't know if that time frame makes sense or is an applicable idea to the no mind state. But during that period when there is no mind, I've never become conscious. Oh, this is me. I never had that experience.
That's because it can only be the mind that has the recognition, oh, this is me. And that, the absolute or pure consciousness, it has nothing to bounce off of to say that. It's just purely luminous.
Mm.
It's the pure luminous essence that knows this experience right here and now. It's the pure luminous essence that knows this now moment. Can you locate it right now?
I'm aware.
Who or what is aware?
I am aware of everything.
What is this I am?
Mhm.
What I'm helping you do right now is dissolving assumptions. In dissolving assumptions, we dissolve the lens through which this awareness looks. And then awareness is just awareness. And if we can locate that and stabilize as that, this is enlightenment. It's your immediate experience without the lenses, without the lens of a contracted mind.
So I have a feeling I know. Would this, so would this same feeling I know that I am, would that exact feeling, not the emotional feeling necessarily, that knowledge, that knowing, would that exact knowing remain in deep sleep? I'm asking that because like if my mind goes right now, I don't think I have that thing which I'm calling now as presence.
Right. There's no acknowledgement of knowing. This knowing is timelessly just what it is. There's no reflective surface to say, I know. Even the I know is assuming an identity within this. This is the release of all identity. That's what enlightenment is.
Mhm.
And then seeing what remains, and something remains. Your essential essence remains. But it isn't a figment of mind that remains. It isn't something that says, oh, this is what I am. No, it just is. It shines as that. The interesting thing is that when we stabilize as just that self luminous essence of being and we investigate what then is reality, we see everything as shining as this same essence. Everything in everybody is a glimmer, a shimmer of this self luminous being. This is how we encounter reality in its true and raw and ultimate nature. That is your essence right here and right now. That essence which is hearing me, that essence which is seeing me, that essence which sees yourself is this luminous essence I'm speaking of. It's right here and right now. And just investigate its qualities. Does it have any borders? If you perceive something outside of yourself, isn't that an assumption? How could you ever perceive anything outside of yourself? Isn't it a reflection within your own awareness, within your own essence of being? The process of awakening just requires us to investigate these things outside of the assumptions and story that mind wraps around them.
I don't know if I can say anything else. Just
That's
remain here.
that's often what happens because when you go beyond the mind, it's just the mind that complicates this. It's just the mind that has all these questions about if and when and how.
Mm,
When you go to the source from which the mind is illuminated, is seen, there's no more questions. But there is an investigation. What does this mean for my place in reality? It's that investigation that delivers you. or stabilizes you within this. So we don't have to ask any questions. You don't need to have any questions. If not, if some arise, feel free to ask them.
Ah,
But we can also just look together. It,
yes. I want to keep quiet. I want you to keep speaking.
it
That's the feeling I have.
yeah. So this is always most direct if you can try to locate any boundaries or seeming barriers in your direct experience between you and this, and then I can help you look at them and dissolve them. You're a focal node of this infinite consciousness, just like I am. Where in your life does this seem to be absent?
So where it seems to be absent in my understanding right now is before I was born as a body and during deep sleep.
Even right now, you're just consciousness, right?
Yes,
Can you confirm that all you can ever know of yourself is an experience of your own consciousness?
yes,
So whether or not the body is there and whether or not the mind is there, these are just objects within this awareness, this consciousness. I use those two terms interchangeably. So before you were born, you're just talking about your body mind. Your body mind is a temporary focusing mechanism of this awareness, of this consciousness. So is the wake mind. It's just a temporary focusing mechanism, an aperture through which infinite consciousness is looking. Can you stabilize here? Don't look for it, but is anything coming to mind? Allow it to come if it comes, or is your mind totally blank?
mind is blank.
So where you are right now is your true seat, is your true self. Stabilizing here and then going out into the world and investigating what everything actually is your process. You don't need to do that after this meeting. You can do that right now. Like look around you and see, is anything actually separate? Or does everything share this space equally? The mind used to give different levels of importance to everything that's being observed, including your own body mind. But when no higher levels of importance are given to any objects within awareness, then awareness is able to just be itself. And you are that. Awakening is first discovering this essence that you're sitting in right now, and then applying it to the world and seeing with clear sight, true vision, and seeing what everything actually is. It's a reflection of self. But you need to see this in your direct experience for it to have any catalytic effect. What's the experience of Samson right now?
I'm aware.
What's aware?
I am.
What is I am? Not the story of I am, but what actually is the substance of I am?
awareness.
Hmm. What we did just there is a full circle, and we clarified everything we ran into. Stabilizing here is all that's required of you to claim your ultimate freedom. Claiming your ultimate freedom sounds like there's a person that becomes free. It's not that. It's the dissolution of the person self. It's not that Samson will then disappear. Samson will still be Samson, but you are the awareness of Samson, just like you're the awareness of everything else. Samson will still have his activities, his motivations, his desires. It's all okay. Everything is allowed to be as it is. This pure awareness that you are is pure allowance, pure acceptance of all things. How could it not be if everything is just a reflection of this? Where would the friction be if it's all one thing?
I think what I'm getting hung up when the mind comes seems to be I'm looking for some validating experience
Mm-hmm.
beyond the I am born,
Mm.
like before I was born. So I was looking some a kind of experience to confirm and validate. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. I wasn't born after, having some experience. Same with deep sleep. Maybe can you shed some light there?
The mind is always looking for an experience, and it will always do that. There will never be a moment in time where the mind will be forever free of desire for an experience. The mind is desire. The mind is the action or mode of wanting. If we can put that aside for just a minute, and you can look outside of it and just see that the mind itself is a contraction of this, then it won't seem so pulley. It won't seem so sticky. The mind is a great tool. It can be used to accomplish all sorts of things in life, but it's not the tool for happiness. It's not the tool to understand the essence of what it is. Because if the mind were to ever understand the essence of what it is, it wouldn't be there. It would completely dissolve. This is why in deep sleep, there's no reflective element to know that to know what it is. It's just self luminous. This is why it's said that the seer cannot be seen, the knower cannot be known. Because if it was seen or if it was known, it would be an object within the knowing, within the seeing. And this is not an object. This is the essence that knows. This is the essence that sees. This is pure objectless awareness. That is your true and fundamental essence. This is not in search of an experience. By establishing in this essence of knowingness or beingness or pure presence, pure awareness, pure consciousness, all of these are the same thing. We allow these contracted energies to dissipate. This is healing. This is healing discordant energies and allowing this life to flow harmoniously. This is rejoining the flow of life, not as a friction element within it, that friction element being the self or contracted identity, a mind body. When we let all that go, we just are the flow of life as everything. But that's not something to seek. You already are that when you join your eternal essence of pure awareness and then investigate what that means for everything else, everything that's perceived within that. Investigate. Is this too awareness? A fragment of awareness? Every happening, including enlightenment, would just be an object within that, a fragment of awareness. It would just be another experience and not your ultimate essence. Enlightenment might be the grandest experience, but it's still an experience of mind. The essence that knows this is already enlightened and always was, and it is what you are. So don't go searching for enlightenment. It's only the mind that searches, it's only the mind that seeks. You are right now pure being, and this is already enlightenment.
What can obscure awareness from knowing itself?
Nothing.
Why is this even getting lost and then remembering is taking place?
Nothing was ever lost, and there's nothing to remember. The sensation of being lost is still made of awareness. That's kind of why Ramana Maharshi uses that example of a rope being interpreted as a snake in a dark room. When the light turns on, the rope is seen, and there never was a snake. And so all the fear and story that was wrapped around there being a snake in the room was seen to just be completely false and illusory. And so that's what this is. The feeling of being lost is the assumption that there's a snake in a room. But when it's seen, or when pure awareness is introduced into sensation of being lost, you see that it never was. There never was anything that was lost. It was an assumption the entire time. It was a modulation of awareness. The substance of everything is awareness. There's nothing that's ever separate from that. There's nothing that's ever lost. We assume there is, and we tell a story about it, just like we assume there was a snake and we tell a story about it. We feel all these body reactions of fear, dread. A lot of people go through life like that. Awakening is turning the light on, realizing it was never there. It was always a story, an assumption. And it'll remain a story and assumption for most people until they investigate. Until they investigate directly, what is the substance of this? What is actually here in any experience? even the experience of being completely lost, forgetting what is
Mm.
here. It's the essence that knows, and the essence that knows is never lost. So there's never actually a returning. It's more of a dissolving of what never was. Look for yourself. Look at the version of Samson that feels that he either was or is still lost. What is it? What's it made of? Simply a modulation of the essence of knowing, right?
Yes.
You are timelessly the essence of knowing.
Yes.
I say timeless because even time and space, and dimensionality, are modulations within this essence that knows. Tell me if I'm wrong, or tell me if this isn't true. Look in your direct experience. I'm not asking you to agree with me, I'm asking you to look.
The essence is timeless because it's the same essence since I was a little kid. That didn't change at all.
Mhm. Only its content changed. The modulations of this essence change. The essence itself, the pure awareness, the pure consciousness, the essence from which modulation occurs, the essence within which modulation occurs, is forever free, forever pure. You are that. Investigate. Is this true for you? This investigation is what dissolves the illusion that there was ever a snake. Right now, you could let go of that story that Samson was ever lost or ever didn't know, because it was just a story. You were always this.
When enlightened people sometimes tell their story, I was enlightened at the age of 18 or 20 or 30, 40. Before they were enlightened, they were not, in a way, until they realized that was not true. If you ask the same person who's enlightened at 18, if you ask the same person at 10, he would say, I'm not enlightened. So what changed it?
That's a great question. The essence, the consciousness that was looking through them prior to enlightenment was looking through the filter of mind, but it
Mm.
was the essence that was looking that is already enlightened. And so upon enlightenment, when enlightenment occurs, seems to occur, it's this consciousness that realizes it was never that unenlightened self. That unenlightened self was just a modulation of its own awareness. It was living through a story, but it was never the story.
Mhm.
So this is a perspective shift from the person self to just the pure consciousness that is aware of the person self. The pure consciousness that is aware of the person self is never not enlightened. Enlightenment is just a description of its essence and nature, of what it always is. That's always the essence that knows. It's the essence that knows the unenlightened self that is always enlightened. And so when we say, or when someone says they gained enlightenment at age 18, really that enlightenment is the dissolution of the one that was not enlightened, a realization of what the enlightened one, or what the unenlightened one was this entire time. It was just a play of consciousness,
Mm.
seeming to forget itself. It's just part of the play, seeming to forget itself. It's always itself. It could never not be. That's what's described as the cosmic joke.
And one do anything about it then? Wait until they get enlightened.
Well,
Just
again, you're
yes.
trying to approach this from the mind self, like you're assuming yourself to be the person that's going to gain enlightenment. That's never the case. A person never gains enlightenment.
Yes.
The enlightened awareness, the essence of being, realizes that this unenlightened self was just a modulation of itself, and that it never actually existed as a forgetting self.
Mm.
It was just a play of being. And you're just being. This awakening is an awakening or a dropping, a letting go of the filter of mind that assumes it's a person self. What's interesting is you're clearly able to drop the person self, but then you love going back and looking from that perspective and then assuming you're not already it. And this is a tendency that a lot of people have. It's a tendency that can be let go of. And your nature and essence will still be there. So the fear of letting go is the fear of letting go of something that never actually was.
I'm not afraid to let it go.
Good. Who would be the one to let it go? And who would be the one on the other side after it was let go?
Same thing.
Same thing. Yep. Perfect. You're seeing clearly right now. And this is the kind of clarity that we walk through life with. No longer looking through the filter of mind. The filter of mind is just a filter. It's a prism through which this infinite consciousness, infinite essence of being fractalizes into a world of subject and object relationships. So this is simply a putting down of the mind or of the prism and realizing that you're just the light that was shining through that prism of mind. And you're that right now. Any story of unenlightenment, any story of Samson prior to enlightenment or after enlightenment, It's just a story being told within the same essence that's always unchanging and infinite. Anytime the mind likes to come up with a question about it, all questions are fair and welcome, but just return to the essence that's asking the question. What is the essence with which a question is made of? What would the essence of the answer be? It would just be a modulation of knowing. A question is just a modulation of knowing, just like the answer is. Not being is just a modulation of knowing, just like being is. This is true for all things. This is simply what is. What is appears like all of this. When fractalized through the conscious mind or the activity of mind, the activity of looking. That's partially why, even in physics right now, they're coming to the understanding that nothing is until observed. The act of observation brings something from its unconditioned infinite essence into an objective reality, a seeming objective material. That's the power of mind. But where it derives that power is from this essence. This is what powers reality. Consciousness. You are just that.
Do you still have a few minutes?
Of course. Yeah.
I
I'm
want
here.
this not to end. I
I,
want this not to end.
I mean, I made this Wild Satsang Non-Duality Club for to support anybody who's willing to look. This isn't supposed to be me trying to, establish any status here. I don't. There's no desire for that whatsoever. There's no desire for admiration or to be perceived in a certain way at all. I'm simply helping people look who want to look and understand their ultimate essence, because in that is freedom, and everybody deserves to know their ultimate nature.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah, so I'm here for you. However I can support you, you let me know. I'm here for that. I'm here for just that.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Um, I want to go back to the deep sleep. This
Mm-hmm.
is something
No,
that's
it's
too
good.
amazing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to ever dismiss anything. You know,
Yeah.
if anything comes up, let's look at it directly and see what it is.
What does what does the experience of or what does being aware of deep sleep really mean?
What does being aware of deep sleep mean?
Yeah, someone is in deep sleep. There is awareness. Everything you're aware of disappears. Your
Mm-hmm.
awareness remains.
Mm-hmm.
I so my question emerged from I think one of the video I watched you mentioning I became aware of I know this is just a description, but I became aware of during your deep sleep you became aware.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, this essence that is aware is always just awareness. That is the self-luminous quality of being, whether it's awake, asleep, alive in a body, or dead without a body. There's always just this self-luminous awareness. There's nothing to be aware of when it's just itself. It's just abiding in its pure, unrefracted essence, its infinite essence. This infinite essence is the space from which all finite things emerge and dance within. That's the experience of the wake state. Going back to just the self-luminous quality of being is what I call the absolute. When awareness isn't mixed with any of its contents, that's deep sleep, deep, dreamless, contentless sleep. That is the absolute.
So I usually talk about my deep sleep after am awake to the
Mm-hmm.
body mind. I kind of refer it back and say, oh, I had a good sleep, I had a deep sleep. But during the deep sleep process, while it's happening, again, I don't want to call it an experience, or I'm not necessarily wanting some form of experience, but some form of recognition during deep sleep. I don't have that.
And you won't, because you're not there. Or what you, the perceiving mechanism that you think that you want to be there is not there. There's nothing there for this self-luminous essence of being to bounce off of and know itself. It just is. But as you already recognized, that isness, that self-luminous isness, you enjoy it. There's joy there. There's peace there. There's freedom there. There's boundlessness there. That essence is the essence of all things. That essence is what is. So those same qualities are imbued in everything. Walking around as that essence of that's the exact same in deep sleep and encountering all things, you realize that those qualities are imbued in everything, in every experience. There's peace, there's joy, there's boundlessness. So deep sleep is a good way to investigate this. I like that you keep going back to it. I like that you're interested in it because, yeah, that essence, if you can distill what that is and
Yeah.
understand that is your absolute nature in the wake state and the dream state and the dreamless sleep state, it's the same throughout. Then you come into direct recognition as that. This awareness is never, it never shares the limitations of its contents.
Mm.
And in deep sleep, there are no contents. That's the only difference.
This is what renders me speechless. uh, mm,
Just be aware. Are you looking through the mind right now, or are you looking as the essence that knows? Just be aware of which lens you're looking through. The lens of mind or the lensless essence that knows. In each moment, you can look to see and thereby become established in whichever side you want.
mm,
There's nothing wrong with looking through the lens of mind. It's all the same thing. But to know that is to live in freedom, regardless of what appears in the lens of mind. So this is liberation. You sense the boundlessness here and now. The essence that senses it, what is it?
I'm sorry?
The essence that senses this boundlessness, what is it?
Awareness again?
This is the practice. Just keep doing this until everything clarifies. And everything will clarify. But
And
again, don't go seeking that experience. Just keep doing this.
mm,
This is the direct path. This is an end of the road pointer. I don't give the mind many concessions in these meetings. I be as tender as I can, but if you're part of the club, you really want to look. You really want this for real. You don't want any magical thinking. You don't want any crazy experience. You're not looking for any status. You're not looking for anything but what is real here and now. And so being deliberate and direct with that is what will bring you into this essence that's always here, that always knows, is always aware. It's this simple.
I know in my heart everything you're saying is true. I resonate to that, and I'm not afraid of anything.
That's a
And
big step.
I don't need anything.
Perfect. That's a perfect place to be. Just dissolve back into that essence that knows this now moment every time. That's the only thing that must be done. It's this simple.
Mm,
I think you're in a very auspicious place right now, and I'd like to leave you to it.
mm,
Doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day, the activities of any of it. It's all allowed. It's all this. Investigate everything that comes up between now and that deep sleep that you crave and see if it's all one thing. Is that what you are? The essence that knows.
mm, mm.
If ever you want further guidance, I'm just going to say the same thing. There's nothing more to be done. But if you'd like help with integration or anything else, book another meeting. I'm always here for you. That's why I created the channel, just for you.
I
But just,
really
of
appreciate.
course, I appreciate your willingness to look
Mm,
because as you do this, as you dissolve into this essence, you become a node of understanding. And that node heals the world around it, brings peace into every situation. Again, we're not seeking that. That's just what happens. So thank you.
No, thank you. I do appreciate that.
Of
Thank you so
course.
much.
Well, till next time, I enjoyed talking with you, Samson.